All right, so today we're really diving deep into this article. And let me tell you, it throws a real curveball when it comes to this election.
It really does make you stop and think.
It does.
The main thing they're arguing is that if Trump actually wins, it might not be because he's so great, you know,
Right.
but more because the Democrats are making some pretty big mistakes.
Okay, now that's interesting, especially this close to the election. So how do they even back that up? Do they have any evidence?
Well, they start off by painting a pretty, I guess you could say, bleak picture of what's going on in politics right now.
Okay.
They point to a bunch of polls that show Trump actually ahead in 6 out of 7 of the main battleground states. And get this, one poll from NBC even has him tied with Harris across the whole country.
Whoa, tied nationally. Okay, that's kind of huge.
Yeah.
But why are they making such a big deal about those battleground states?
Well, they're usually the ones that decide these close elections, right?
Right.
It all comes down to just a few states, and this isn't just some random poll. This is,
Right.
NBC News.
Yeah.
So it really leads to what the article calls, like, the big question, the big what if, what happens to the Democrats if Trump wins?
Okay, yeah, that is the question, isn't it? Especially after, well, everything that's gone down the past 4 years.
Exactly.
So what do they think? What would a Trump win say about the Democrats?
They basically say it would be a total disaster for the Democrats, that it would call their whole strategy into question, like who they picked to run and all of their policies.
So it's not even really about Trump. It's about what a win for him would mean for the other side.
Exactly.
This is where it gets juicy.
Yeah, this is where they start to really critique the Democrats and what they're doing, and you might be surprised by what they say.
Okay, well, let's hear it then. So they're saying the Democrats are making some big mistakes. What exactly are they doing wrong, according to this article?
They're saying the Democrats made 2 big mistakes right off the bat.
Okay, I'm listening.
The first one, they're questioning the whole Biden thing, running with him again.
Oh, that.
They're saying his age and all that, it was already a concern back in 2020, even during his presidency, and it's still an issue now.
Okay.
They're basically saying it was a risky move, especially after that debate with Trump back in June.
Okay, so maybe not the best strategy, but Biden does have the experience, right?
Yeah, but then they hit us with point number 2, and this is a big one, picking Kamala Harris as Biden's running mate.
Okay.
They say she just hasn't really proven herself on the national stage.
Ah.
They even point out that she didn't win a single primary last time around.
Yeah, that's true. She didn't do so well in the primaries. But what about her policies? What do they say about those?
That's where it gets really interesting.
Okay, I'm intrigued.
They're saying her policies are just too far left, even for some Democrats, the more moderate ones.
Okay.
They're really going after her economic plans, especially that whole thing about government assistance for first-time home buyers.
Oh, right. That's been in the news a lot lately. Why do they think that's so radical?
Well, they're saying it's just not going to work in the long run, like economically.
Okay.
They're saying it'll lead to higher taxes and the government's going to get way too involved in the housing market.
I see.
They think it's going to scare away a lot of voters, even the ones who usually vote Democrat, if you know what I mean.
So one policy could really mess things up for the Democrats.
Exactly.
Wow.
And it's not just the economy they have a problem with. They're also criticizing her stance on social issues. They brought up that governor from Minnesota, Tim Walz, and what he's doing with abortion and transgender rights, immigration, all of that. They're using him as an example of how the Democrats are moving too far to the left.
So they're saying what's happening in Minnesota could be a sign of things to come for the whole country.
Exactly. They're making the case that those policies might be well-intentioned, but they're just out of touch with a lot of voters, and it could backfire on the Democrats big time.
So if the Democrats are so out of touch, does that automatically mean Trump's the better choice? I mean, what do they have to say about him? So if the Democrats are so out of touch, does that automatically mean Trump's the better choice? I mean, what do they have to say about him?
That's what's so interesting. They don't actually paint a very flattering picture of Trump at all.
Really?
Yeah, they call him, like, childish, a misogynist, even a charlatan.
Wow. Okay, so they're not holding back on either side then. But if that's how they see Trump, how do they explain him, potentially winning?
Well, that gets right to the heart of their argument. They're saying even if Trump wins, it wouldn't be because he's so great or anything,
Okay.
but because people are fed up with the Democrats and where they're going.
So they're saying he's almost winning by default.
Basically, yeah. They're saying a lot of voters feel like the Democrats have just left them behind.
Huh.
They've moved too far to the left.
Interesting. So let's say they're right and Trump does win. What happens then? What does this article say a future with him in charge would look like?
Well, they're predicting that Republicans might end up in control of everything.
Everything.
Yeah, like the White House, obviously, but also the Senate and maybe even the House of Representatives.
And for those of us who don't spend all day watching cable news, what would that actually mean? What does a Republican trifecta change?
It means they would have a lot of power, like a scary amount.
Oh,
The article says with a Republican Senate, which they seem to think is pretty much guaranteed at this point,
okay.
Trump could get really aggressive with his agenda. They even think he might try to undo a bunch of Biden's policies, stuff like student loan forgiveness and immigration.
Wow. Okay, so some pretty big changes could be coming our way. This election feels bigger than ever, at least from what this article is saying.
Yeah, they're basically saying it's not even about picking the best candidate anymore. It's about what direction we want the country to go in.
Well, this article definitely gives us a lot to unpack. It's a pretty, let's just say it, controversial take on this election.
Definitely makes you think, you know? What I find really interesting is that both sides seem to be struggling right now. Like, a lot of voters just feel disillusioned no matter who they support. It makes you wonder, where do we go from here? How can either party actually reach these voters and address their concerns? Guess we'll find out in November.
We will. Well, thank you so much for breaking all of that down for us today, helping us really dig into this complex issue. And to everyone listening, thank you for joining us for this deep dive. It really was a fascinating look at the election. No matter who you're voting for, remember to stay informed, be critical of what you hear, and most importantly, get out there and vote.